I can't help you on hacking DNS because I usually don't have to go to that level. I usually could exploit people and exploit systems before even having to deal with DNS. But it's really good because when we drop payloads, it's really good. What I think, especially the products I've seen, is a lot of these bad guys use the same command and control servers all the time. So once you could blacklist it so it can't be used again, I think that's a good thing. Because hackers, when they're operating, even when they're doing pen testing, will create a domain on the fly. If you look at domain age is a big thing, right? If there's some new domain that's like emailing your employees that it's about 4 or 5 days old, that's a little bit suspicious, right? You should maybe flag on that. I don't really, now over DNS port 53, yes, right? Because when remember I mentioned earlier, when I'm taking over a box, I'll use PowerShell injection, I'll use it only in memory, right? So I bypass AV detection, but now I scope out and say, oh, this client's using McAfee or something. Oh, I could drop an executable that's not gonna get caught, right? What I'll do is sometimes I'll have a interpreter shell connect back on port 53. Right? Because what do people have that's allowed outbound? Usually 80 for Windows updates or 443, but that usually sometimes goes through web application proxies. But 22, 1494, which is Citrix, 3389, which is RDP, right? So we use the services, the ports, for malware that's going to allow usually an outbound connection. And port 53 is definitely one that I use all the time. Not for real malware, for testing, just to clarify. For any reporters that are in the audience. Okay. In fact, I'll tell you a funny story. My speaking agent got a request for me to speak in Brazil for this cloud company that was launching their cloud, and they wanted me to speak about how secure their cloud is. I go, wait. First of all, I'm not going to speak on how secure your cloud service is. I could speak on cloud security, but not on your service. And they go, why? And I go, well, first of all, I didn't pen test you. They go, well, why don't you give us a small little pen test? We'll give you a little tour and we'll see how it goes. So I go, okay. So what they did is they finally gave me access. I was able to use their application on a Windows box to connect to this thin, it's kind of like a thin client, which was a Windows desktop that they hardened the registry. And I'm on the phone with the CTO and the CEO, and they're walking me through, telling me how secure it is. And the first thing I did was open up a browser, connected to one of my boxes, and executed a Java applet for code execution. And I already had a reverse shell from their backend infrastructure, and it was in Ubuntu. So he's talking to me on the phone. I'm already looking, and they're using NFS, so I could see they have their administration of the company, their dev teams, their customers. All the drives are mounted. You could see them, because they're using NFS, right? And I'm talking, I said, well, again, I really don't know how secure you are. I said, why don't you give me till tomorrow to take a look at this desktop, and let's see how it goes. And by that time tomorrow, 8 hours later, I was able to elevate to root because there was a bug in PAM, in the password authentication module in Ubuntu that they didn't patch. I was able to get root, basically root all their boxes, including their clients, get their password hashes, and at the time it's in a Linux environment, Active Directory, so there's no wdigest. So I actually had to crack their hashes, right? And I cracked all the hashes of all their employees and customers except 3. And then I sent the file to the CEO and the CTO, and I said, hey, when we get on the phone, I'll give you the password to open the file. So we got on the phone the next day. I go, okay, before we continue about talking about your pen test, here, put in the password, whatever I chose. They put it in, and it was just silence. Just silence. So I kind of shot myself in the foot from getting the speaking gig, though. Yeah, of course, in our reports, which is the deliverable, we actually have, we show the vulnerability, we show the exploit, we show how to fix it, and in a lot of cases, we go back to testing the next year and they haven't fixed the first bug, which kind of, it really annoys me because we spend a lot of time finding bugs and they go, wait a second, you didn't patch that. There was F5s, if you remember, the root key, the SSH private key for root was like the same in every box, right? So I had one airline that I tested. I put in the report, hey, you better fix this. It wasn't external. We had to get internal on the network first. And we got hired 2 years later to do a pen test again. They didn't even fix the F5. I go, why are you hiring me? You know, if you're not going to fix your bugs, oh, well, management wouldn't let us reboot the F5. Well, okay. You know, I mean, yeah, because the compliance checkoffs, right? Oh, we're compliant. You know, yeah, we found our bugs, but we haven't fixed them, but we're still compliant. Yeah, so as far as the deliverable and the remediation with respect to technical bugs, we do that, but with respect to like social engineering, we recommend user education and training. We highly recommend that companies inoculate their users by actually testing them, by actually doing the same exploits like Java Applet and others against the workforce to find out which people at the company are going to be susceptible to this type of exploitation so they could be trained. And it has to be on a continuous cycle. So user education and training, exploitation, of course you have to give them notice ahead of time so you don't reduce employee morale. Updating the desktop, third-party apps. A lot of people are really good as, you know, they'll upgrade the OS or Java and Adobe NAG screens, they'll update that, but they have a lot of other third-party apps on the desktop. A lot of those remain out of date, and those could be exploited. And of course, what we talked about before with firewall rules on egress. Like, do you allow, you know, port 53 out to the world TCP, and can a bad guy leverage that to get a reverse shell and get, you know, and have access into the business?